What's up guys and welcome back to MoAn Inc. If you guys are new here, then hello! My name's Erica and for today's video, as you can see from the title, we are going to be diving into the Circe saga from Epic the Musical. But before we can get into that, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you know every single time I post in the future. And now that you've so kindly done that, let's get into it. As I start all of these videos off with, we need to have a little disclaimer just before we actually get into actually playing the music and to having a little listening party and all of that kind of stuff, because I always want you guys to know, in case this is the first time you're watching one of my videos, I love Epic the Musical. I am a huge fan of Epic. I listened to it last summer in 2025, so I know that I'm very late to it, but I listened to it, completely fell in love, and I am frequently playing the songs as I'm going about my regular life. This series is merely intended to use Epic as an educational tool. So as a classicist, it is important for me to be aware of what things are going on in pop culture, and seeing that this musical adapted the Odyssey, it was clear that at some point I was going to have to come to it and talk about it. But I'm coming from a place of love. Everything that I say is not saying that it's bad, it is simply acknowledging the differences. That is all that we are doing in this series. We are not saying one is better than the other. It would be, honestly, a waste of everybody's time if we were going to compare them in that way. And so therefore, all I'm doing is using it so that if you are a fan of Epic, you can then see where Rivera-herrans has moved things away from the ancient text, where he's infused his own ideas, and other times where he stayed really, really true to the ancient Greek. And this, for me, is the most fun exercise. So I just wanted to say that, just so that we're all on the same page. And now that it's already been 2 minutes, let's start playing the first song in the Circe saga, which is Puppeteer.
Captain, I have something that I must confess, something that I must get off my chest. Until it is said, I cannot rest. Captain, you really gotta make sure this island is secure.
Okay, so I, as with every video, have printed off the lyrics so that way I'm quoting appropriately, because, you know, sometimes we hear things and they're just like not, they're not actually what's written down. So anytime you see me looking down, I'm looking at this little packet that I've printed off. However, to the song, this line, Eurylochus, go make sure the island is secure, is something that does happen in the Odyssey. So I will get into this a little bit more just further down, but when they arrive on Circe's island, before they know that it's Circe's island, Odysseus and his men do split up into 2 groups, and Odysseus orders the other group to go and scope out the island whilst he stays with the men down on the beach. So again, we're gonna elaborate on this in a second, but let's keep the song playing.
But Captain,
there's only so much left we can endure. Whatever you need to say can wait some more. Of that I'm sure.
Okay.
Eurylochus, back so soon. Where's the rest of your crew? And by the gods, what happened to you?
We came across a palace. Inside we heard a voice. It seemed to show no malice. To greet it was our choice, but nothing could prepare us for the power that awaited inside.
What did this palace hide?
Sir, since we left home, we faced a variety of foes from a wide range of places. Gods, monsters, you know the roster. Hostile creatures that we could resist.
Okay, that line, hostile creatures that we could resist. I really wanted to take a moment to talk about this. The use of the word resist, I don't think necessarily Rivera-herrans included this word specifically, but I'm using it as an opportunity to go off on a bit of a tangent here, which is that one of the philosophical theories that comes around the Odyssey, which comes much later, it sort of comes to us in like 1900s literature and like philosophical literature, is that the Odyssey, the entire poem, can be read as man's quest to resist temptation. So this is a really interesting idea that I'm not going to dive too much into. I do talk about it in my book. I spent last year writing a book and it's coming out this summer. So in June, you'll be able to read all about it in The Odyssey Effect, how Homer's epic poem shaped the world. You guys can find links to my book in the description below in case you're curious about that. But so I love this idea that throughout the Odyssey, you can read it as Odysseus constantly being given things and being forced to reject them. And they're things that human nature is almost conditioned to want. I don't know if I explained that very well, but if we go through the Odyssey, I just said I wasn't going to get into too much detail. I swear I'm not. But if we go through the Odyssey, even when it comes to Odysseus having to part from his crew, and this is like literally how the philosophical work says it, like he has to part with his crew, he has to part with his community, he needs to go it alone, like that inherently goes against human nature. And the temptation to stay with the group and the temptation to be a part of a community is what we would normally do, and Odysseus is forced to reject that. He's forced to reject multiple women who throw themselves at him that offer something different at every stage of the journey, and though they get lesser, they also get more in value for Odysseus. So you start off with Calypso, who's like, I'll make you immortal, which is what every mortal wanted in the ancient world. Like that's sort of something that we play with throughout the ancient world. It's like mortals are constantly trying to be immortal, and Odysseus rejects that. And then you have Nausicaa, who is the princess of the Phaeacians, the princess on Scheria, and she is almost a pseudo, like quasi Penelope 2.0, where she is just the younger model of Penelope. We know that she's very smart. We know that she has this whole island that she's going to take over at some point. She has these people who she is very respectful of. She's very respectful of her parents. Like she is exhibiting all of these wonderful qualities that we know Penelope has. And Odysseus still rejects that. That all came off of one word in this song that's not even the main point, but still, that's kind of a fun fact. So that's just like an Odyssey fact just based off of the word resist. We can keep listening. I'm sorry, guys. You've signed up for this, though. You've come here for the nerdiness. So based on the word resist, I just gave you a little essay. Anywho.
But this was a hell of a twist, because we are weak to a power like this.
What was it?
A woman.
What?
She had us in just 2 words.
Obsessed. There's nothing really to say with that. It's just, I am obsessed with the way that they've written that as like this weird little staccato conversation, like rivera-herrans writing it as like boom, 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 and then that pause of like a woman, and he's just like, what? I love it. I am not a musical theatre girly in the sense that I can correctly analyze that in a musical theatre sense. I just like it. Like it just, it feels right. It feels cool. It feels right. Obsessed.
Come inside.
Damn.
Welcome to the best part of your life. Take a seat. Let me bring you all something to eat. I bet you're tired from the years spent on your feet. I've got you, don't worry, Circe's got you now.
By the time they ate, it was far too late. For inside the meal,
Think of your past.
she had cast a spell.
And your mistakes.
They began to squeal
They'll be the last.
and grow snouts and tails.
Mistakes you'll make.
She changed them.
I've got all the power, yeah. I've got all the power. No, I'm not a player, I'm a puppeteer. No, I don't play, I'm puppeteer, yeah.
They transformed,
This is the price.
and it wasn't quick.
We paid a little.
She turned our men
The world is not
from men to pigs.
Yup,
to forgive.
100%.
I've got all the power, yeah. I've got all the power. No, I'm not a player, I'm a puppeteer. No, I don't play, I'm puppeteer, yeah.
We have to go save them.
No, we don't.
Fun fact, that is directly from the Odyssey. This, obviously the conversation, not in the way that rivera-herrans has written it, happens in the Circe episode in the Odyssey, but this back and forth where Eurylochus, however you choose to say it, is the one that tells Odysseus, you do not have to go back and save them. They are pigs now, they are animals, we just gotta go. And there's this little debate that they have where Odysseus is like, I'm not leaving my men. This goes back to the whole resisting thing and like trying to save them and blah, 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 but you're gonna lose them anyways. But regardless, this is exactly what happens in the Odyssey. So I like that Eurylochus is still providing that voice. Like I said, I find that whether Odysseus is the modern idea of morals or whether he's embodying his ancient self, Eurylochus and a lot of the other characters play directly off of that. So people will take it in turns to take on this ancient voice. And this is a perfect example of just copy, Paste. Wonderful. The second song is Wouldn't You Like?
I must say, what a brilliant speech you gave.
Who goes there?
Just a friend who could help you save your men. A foe like Circe's not to be messed with. You want to beat her, you'll need the blessing of a certain god. Divine intervention, someone who's not afraid to send a message.
Hermes?
Wouldn't you like a taste of the power? Wouldn't you like to use more than words? Deep in the night, the fight lasts for hours. You can be hurt or you can beat her. Wouldn't you like to have some other magic? Wouldn't you like your outcome preferred? Deep in the night, the fight can be tragic. I'll help you conquer her.
Nothing to do with the ancient world. My note right now is just that if Christopher Nolan doesn't give us this Hermes, I don't want it. Like, I don't. I completely fell in love with this version of Hermes listening to the musical, this and his later song as well. They're just so fun and poppy and upbeat and cheeky. And I feel like they really encapsulate that god of trickery, you know, that we get from the ancient world. And I love that in the modern world, it seems like people have the most fun with this god. It seems like people really put their all into Hermes. Like, every rendition that I've read of Hermes has been so fresh, but also still cheeky. That's the only word that I can describe him as. And I love this rendition. And if we get a serious Hermes in Christopher Nolan, I am going to come on here, even if the film is brilliant, even if it's so accurate, I'm going to come on here and be like, not my Hermes. Not my Hermes, not today, Satan.
She can turn you to an animal that'll end up on a plate. She can all but make you fall in love like you're on your 100th date. She can conjure up a monster that'll grind you to the bones. She has all the ways to haunt you when you take her on alone. Wouldn't you like a taste of the power? Wouldn't you like to use more than words? Deep in the night, the fight lasts for hours. You can be hurt or you can be turned. Wouldn't you like to have some of the magic? Wouldn't you like your outcome preferred? Deep in the night, the fight can be tragic. I'll help you conquer her. Oh, here in the root of this flower, there lies such a power to take her on. You must consume and digest it, then you'll manifest a being of your creation. All you need's imagination, though it's only for a moment. Till you've beaten your opponent.
And I call this root Holy Moly.
What is moly? What is this plant? Because this is from the Odyssey. So this whole episode, obviously the song is not quote unquote from the Odyssey, but the idea of Odysseus going off into the forest and then go and find Circe's palace where all of his men have been turned into pigs, and he gets interrupted by Hermes does happen in the Odyssey, and Hermes does give him this plant moly. But what is that? And interestingly, we don't know. So this is one of the times in classical research that it is so fun to really get into the weeds of it, because when it comes to Homer, and I mean, Homer is our, like, it's our foundational text, right? So everybody has read them, everybody gets into them. And going into Homer and seeing a plant like this, we obviously want to know, okay, well, what plant were they looking at? Because the plant itself, like the magical qualities of it, don't exist. But what were they basing this plant on? So classicists over the centuries have literally been like going to botanists or going to gardens and like trying to figure out what moly is. And no one knows. We have lots of theories about what plant it could possibly be, but there's no definitive idea of what the ancient Greeks were looking at when this was written and when this sort of came to be. Was it like a healing plant? Is that why? Like, we've done that research, by the way, to go into lots of plants that, you know, maybe they are good against poison. None of them seem to be moly, and I think it's because there's not enough description that we can get really specific, but there's also there is, in a sense, enough description that we know it can't be certain things. I don't know how else to explain that because I'm not a botanist, but I have read these and they are so fun because everyone's like, it's just a leaf, I don't know. Now, what's funny also about this, and this will come up later, that Hermes at this moment, so I'm going to mention the other half of this later on, but Hermes at this moment in the Odyssey, he also tells Odysseus, by the way, if like negotiation doesn't work, this is what you have to do with Circe, right? So when you get there, if she's going to be very difficult, blah, 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 because she's scary, she's really powerful. We've heard this now twice, once from Eurylochus, and then again from Hermes. So we know that she has this reputation of being a really, really powerful sorceress, really powerful witch. I personally don't like that word, but it's not an incorrect translation. But she's incredibly powerful. So Hermes says, if she is a problem, if she's very stubborn, the way that you're going to get over this is by taking out your sword, literal sword in the text, but you know, if you want to read it as as not that, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but you have to take out your literal sword and you've got to go at her as if you're going to harm her, and then she's going to invite you to bed. And that's how you know that you'll be safe. Like it is, and then we'll get to what Circe says when we get to her song. But that's what happens in the Odyssey. Understandably, that part was cut because that's weird. And my theory, well, it's not really a theory, it's just like my reading of the Odyssey is that Hermes completely orchestrates this whole episode. Like as you're reading it, you're like, okay, so this is you being the god of trickery. It has nothing to do with these individual players. It has nothing to do with Circe. It has nothing to do with Odysseus. It has to do with you being bored. And he is somewhere, it's not described in the Odyssey, but I just know it. He is somewhere with a little box of popcorn watching this unfold going, oh, I am so funny. But anyways, we will come to the rest of that story when we hear it from Circe in the next song. Song number 3 is Done For.
Lady of the palace, sorry that I asked this, but I hope that I've been misinformed. I sent out some scouts to take a look around through here, and they wound up at your doors. Through the years we seldom get a warm welcome, so I must ask just to be sure. Did you do something to them?
Who, me? All I did was reveal their true form.
You turned them into pigs.
I don't know who you are nor why you're here, but let me make this one thing clear. I've got people to protect, nymphs I can't neglect, so I'm not taking chances, dear. If you make one...
So, I've been told by many of you in the comments that I'm using a very old video to watch as I do this. I'm also, I have all of the music because a lot of people have been commenting saying, oh, this also sounds like an older recording. I have the ones, like I literally bought the album because I'm so lame like that. I was like, I actually want to support Rivera-herrans, so let me go buy the music. So I have the physical ones, just so that you guys know I'm aware of that. I wasn't aware that the animation was old, but since I started the series with it, I just kind of want to keep using it, but I am aware of that. However, when I printed off the lyrics, just get this nice and evened out, it says, Circe summons a chimera. My life was better when I didn't know this. Like, genuinely, I think this is a very bizarre... I don't know why this is here. I don't know why she summons a chimera. It gets weirder as the song continues. This is an example of me having wished that I didn't do this series, because I was just listening to this thinking it was like dramatic sort of background music for like no clear reason. It was like a metaphorical fight that's happening between the two as they're kind of sparring off, you know, and Odysseus wants his men not be pigs and Circe doesn't care about anybody. You know, I thought that's what it was, not a literal chimera. We'll get to the other strange part of this song in a hot second. Let's just keep going.
Wrong move, then you're done for. Anything I don't approve, then you're done for. I could put a spell on you when you're done for. Boy, you better run or soon you will be done for.
I don't mean to tip your scale, but you will fail at placing any spells on me. I just ate a flower, one that claims your power, so you better cower now and flee.
You must be a liar, mortals can't acquire money without dire consequence.
Then I must be a god like you, cause I got this root from the ground with my bare hands.
Hermes gave it to you, didn't he?
See, exactly what we said earlier, which is Hermes gave him the root, he then goes, and she's like, Circe's very aware that this is going to happen as well in the Odyssey, because there has been some communication. So when she realizes that Odysseus doesn't turn into an animal, whether it be a pig or whatever it is, when he is not subject to her magic. Thank God I recovered that. My brain just went blank for a hot second. But when he's not subject even to her magic, Circe then is aware that Hermes has gotten involved. Circe then says to Odysseus, okay, Hermes told me that you would come. He said, blah, 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 and she kind of goes through this laundry list of things that Hermes told her. So again, not exactly, but this is close enough that I'm happy with it. I mean, I'm happy with all of this. I'm very happy with the previous song. The previous song is the one that I am constantly playing. Like, I go on like my little walks and literally I'm like hopping around in the park to Hermes' song. This one I have to say I don't necessarily come back to. And I think that's probably because as a fan of the Odyssey, I literally have dedicated my life to studying the Odyssey and then just wrote a non-fiction book about it. And I'm like, I'm a fan. So as somebody who loves the ancient world, the first time I listened to this, I really wished it had a bigger moment. I wish that Circe had a much larger moment. Listening to it within the context of the musical makes more sense. I think it was just when I was listening to things separately and I was kind of being like, okay, this is a saga, this is a saga, this is a story. And knowing the cultural impact that Circe's had, thanks to, you know, Madeline Miller and people like that, I was really hoping that this song was going to be more. And the more I listen to it, the more I understand it within the context of the musical. It's not necessarily one I come back to. I'm curious as to how you guys feel about this. I've loved talking to you guys in the comments about your favorite songs or your song choice and all of that. So did anybody else feel that way? Like, did anybody else come from Madeline Miller's Circe, listen to this? Or maybe did you listen to this and then read Madeline Miller's Circe? Or maybe you just, you know, listened to this saga and just kind of thought it could have been a bit, I don't know, more. It could have had more drama, more passion. I don't know. Maybe that could just be me. Let me know though. Let's chit chat.
Okay, fine, yes. Well, regardless.
You and I are now evenly matched. Our fates are intertwined, they're attached. I've got people to protect, friends I can't neglect. So now there is no turning back.
Remember how I said earlier, there's a chimera. Here, in the lyrics, it says, Odysseus summons a cyclops. The chimera and the cyclops begin fighting. I don't know what this means. Like, I understand what the words mean on the page, but I don't know why it's here. I don't think it's needed either. I don't think that this level of let's add this into it is needed. I kind of wish that was taken out and that the drama was put into Circe having a bigger moment. But also, why does Odysseus summon a cyclops? We just came from the Cyclops Island. This is not me being a hater. I do want to keep highlighting that. I still love the musical. I just wish that I hadn't printed off the lyrics to this song because it was better without them. It was better without me knowing Odysseus summons a cyclops and then the cyclops fights with the chimera, which it wouldn't be an even fight anyways. The cyclops is this and the chimera is this, and anyways.
Made you one wrong move, now you're done for. I will be the one to prove that you're done for. Not even a spell saves you, cause you're done for. Oh, you better run, or soon you will be done for.
The note after that is Odysseus' cyclops beats Circe's chimera, and then Odysseus pulls a sword on Circe's throat. Okay, so the first half of that sentence, cut. Just get rid of all of the chimera, cyclops fighting, whatever, we don't need it. But keep the part where Odysseus pulls a sword on Circe's throat, because that's what I just said happens in the Odyssey. Okay, so this is a moment that does happen. He rushes her with his sword, kind of, you know, pins her where she is, and she's like, right. Okay, so now we're serious. Now we're evenly matched to some degree, obviously, because she's still a sorceress. But in that current predicament, they're evenly matched, and she understands the situation that's happened. So keep that. That was brilliant. Obsessed. Love it.
You've lost.
My nymphs are like my daughters, I protect them at all costs. The last time we let strangers live, we faced a heavy loss. You've given me no reason to bestow you with my trust, but everyone's true colors are revealed in acts of lust.
So we're about to get into this more in the next song. But again, as I said, this is actually something that is told to her by Hermes. In the Odyssey, she's like, I was told by Hermes that when you do this, I need to offer blank. And then Odysseus says, funny, I was told by Hermes I need to accept. And so they actually do the dirty deed in the Odyssey. But yeah, so we get back on track. After the weird chimera thing, we get back on track. Love it. So let's listen to the last song in this so that we can actually expand on the scene, because this is where we get those details from the actual Odyssey that Circe says, yay! So the fourth song is There Are Other Ways.
Of persuasion. There are other modes of control. There are other means of deceit. There are other roads to the soul. There are other actions of passion. You have so much left to learn. Want to save your men from the fire. Show me that you're willing to burn.
Who's to say with the mistakes I've made
Don't be
that they will be the last
of your
mistakes I
past.
ever made?
Don't break when
There is so much power, but there's no puppet here.
This is the price
I'm
we pay
just
love.
a man.
There is no line,
I'm
never
just
enough.
a
So much
man.
power,
So funny, so unintentionally
much
funny.
power, but there's
There's a hot lady in front of me.
I can't.
Back at home, my wife awaits for me. She's my everything, my Penelope. And she's all my power, but it's been 12 long years, oh, 12 long years since I have seen my wife, and now the god of tides is out to end my life. So I beg you, Circe, grant us mercy, and let us puppets leave.
I'm very happy to change this for musical purposes, right? I've said in previous sagas that Odysseus's role in this whole project is to more so, not entirely, but more so embody modern ideals and expectations. I don't mind this changing because we do have, in the modern world, much more different ideals of relationships, of loyalty, all of those sorts of things. And he highlights how he's been away for 12 years, which, by the way, tick, tick, accurate. He's been away for 12 years and he just wants to get home to his wife, so he's saying no to Circe. Interestingly, this does link with what I was saying earlier about Odysseus having to resist temptation. This is, again, just a philosophical theory when it comes to the Odyssey, not necessarily how you should read it, but an interesting way to read the Odyssey. And when it comes to Circe, and when it comes to Odysseus going to Circe's island and all of this, she is one of the women that he also needs to resist, and he needs to leave the island because this is where he's most comfortable. On his whole journey, him and his men get there and they just lose track of time. That's not due to Circe, drugging them the whole time. Like, nothing horrible happens on this island. Aside from the men being turned into pigs, nothing horrible happens on this island. In fact, they're drinking, they're having really luscious dinners, like, they're having a really great time, and he still has to turn and be like, no, I have to go home. Actually, we need to leave, like, now. But equally, you can still look at this song through that lens as well, that instead of him rejecting the whole life on Circe's island, he's just rejecting her physical advances, which in the Odyssey he doesn't do. She says we should go to bed, and he's like, cool, that sounds great with me. You're really hot. This is a fun experience, and Hermes told me that I should anyways. Oh, I'm just a man. Kind of a thing. So yes, it's different, but I loved this change, and I love this adaptation. I love how it very subtly calls back to the Odyssey itself.
Poseidon, eh? There might be a way to evade him. There might be a way to get home. Though this other way's very dangerous, it might be your one final hope. I know of a brilliant prophet. Problem is this prophet is dead. I can't get you home, but I'll get you to the underworld instead.
interestingly, for you guys who have just listened to Epic and haven't yet read the Odyssey, if you guys want to read the Odyssey, I have a whole series here on YouTube that is breaking down each chapter, each book. We call them books in the ancient world. Each and every one of them, I go through a summary of it so you can read and watch those, you know, sort of one after the other to make sure that you're keeping up with everything. But interestingly, in the ancient texts, all of the direction that we see in Epic the musical, so every time somebody is like, oh, you should go here, you should do this, it's mostly given by Circe in the Odyssey. Mostly, not all of it is given by Circe, but at this moment where Odysseus says, I have to go home, I need to go see my wife, Circe says, okay, but here are all the things that you're about to encounter. This is how you get past the sirens. She's the one that gives them the beeswax. Then you'll encounter Scylla and Charybdis, and how do you get out of this? Like, all of that comes from Circe, including this direction, this sort of, she gives them a roadmap of how to get to the underworld. And she specifically says to Odysseus, you need to go and find Tiresias when you're down there. Like, he is the only person who will meet in the next, is it the next saga? Yes, that we'll meet in the next saga. But she says you've got to go and talk to him because he's going to actually tell you what happens after you make it home. Circe says this is how you make it through the mythological side of things, and he's going to tell you the journey after that. So, wonderful. Wonderful.
I'll release your men and I'll get you to the underworld instead.
Wait, you're helping us?
There are many ways of persuasion. There are many modes of control. Maybe showing one act of kindness leads to kinder souls down the road.
Oh, actually, I don't think I have anything else to say. I'm just sitting here jamming to the song when that's it. There's nothing else that's said in this song, which means we can wrap up this saga. I do want to end this by saying, of course, as with every single saga, me pointing out the differences does not mean that one is good and one is bad. That does not mean that the Odyssey is good and Epic is bad. It does not mean that Epic is good and the Odyssey needs to be squished and be thrown down. Absolutely not. Like, I'm first and foremost a classicist, but I'm also a fan. I'm also a consumer. And I'm also somebody who's living in the modern world that loves seeing adaptations of these texts. And especially in musical form, this has been so, so, so fun. So please take everything that I'm saying with that to heart. Know that I'm coming from a place of love and that nothing that I have said will ever stop me from loving this musical, from listening to this musical. I will always be able to see this as a work of art. I am simply using it as an educational tool for all of us on this channel in case you want to go and read the Odyssey at the same time. But like I said, that's everything I have to say about Circe Saga, which means that next time you will be slotting into the Underworld Saga, which, just to let you guys know ahead of time, I do not have very many. I don't have very many classical notes for that. We will be listening to it the whole way through because it is my favorite saga from top to bottom. Perfect. Really? I don't know if you can hear that, but my neighbors just started drilling, so that is my cue to leave. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. It has meant the world to me, all of your support with this series, and I'll be seeing you next time with more Epic the Musical reactions on the channel. I'll see you guys then.